What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Thursday, May 12th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 4-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. I've got a stud pick and then a sleeper pick, a low salary pick at the pitcher position for you. So my stud pick is Dylan Cease. He's got a small pitching advantage here over the New York Yankees. Dylan Cease, he pitches pretty well versus righties, only giving up a .540 OPS versus righties, and he's facing 5 righties. He also pitches pretty well versus switch hitters, only giving up a .497 OPS versus switch hitters, and he's facing 2 switch hitters tonight as well. So Dylan Cease, the Yankees have hit 8 of his last 26 pitches. Now that's a .308 batting average. It's not a huge sample size, but I do like the splits here. And he's $10,300 FanDuel salary, $300 less on DraftKings. He's averaging 40 fantasy points per game on the season. He has an ERA of 2.38. His record is 3-1, pitching an average of 93 pitches per game. So I like Dylan Cease here versus the New York Yankees. Now, the sleeper pick, if you're looking to save some salary at the pitcher position, take a look at JT Brubaker. Now, some of these stats are pretty awful, but there is one in particular stat that I like, and the reason that I think he might be worth a shot here. Okay, so JT Brubaker, he's pitching against the Cincinnati Reds, and he pitches his best ball versus righty batters, giving up a .699 OPS versus righties, and he's facing 6 righties here tonight. So fantastic splits for JT Brubaker. And the stat that I like here and what I think makes him an interesting play, high risk, high reward play, but he is pretty cheap here, is the Reds have only hit 6 of his last 34 pitches. That's a .176 batting average. So he seems to pitch pretty well versus the Reds, and I can see why, because he has fantastic splits. So JT Brubaker is only $7,200 FanDuel salary. Now he's averaging 20 fantasy points per game on the season. He has an ERA of 5.68. Ouch. And his record is 0-2, pitching an average of 73 pitches per game. So it's really the splits here and the pitcher versus batter matchup and the low salary. If you want to stack your bats, I think he's worth the risk. So I like JT Brubaker as a high risk, high reward pitcher here versus the Cincinnati Reds. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. Now here's a value play. Take a look at Michael Perez. He has a 21% batting advantage over Connor Overton. Michael Perez is batting 10% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .824 OPS versus righties. Connor Overton, he's giving up a .545 OPS versus lefties. He's pitching 11% worse to lefties as he does righties. Now there's no at-bats versus Overton yet, but Michael Perez is only $2,000 FanDuel salary. He's $2,000 more on DraftKings, so I love that FanDuel price. Averaging 15 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of 200, but he's put up some monster games recently. Let's take a look at his last 5 games. He scored 0, 19, 25, 13, and 3 fantasy points in the last 5 games. And then in his last 4 games versus the Cincinnati Reds, scored 25, 6, 9, and 13 fantasy points. So I think he's got some value here at basically minimum salary on FanDuel. So I like Michael Perez as a value play here versus Connor Overton. I also like Freddie Freeman, and he's batting against a low salary pitcher, Dylan Peters. Freddie Freeman is batting a .866 OPS versus lefties. Dylan Peters giving up a .453 OPS versus lefties. But I like this pick because Freddie Freeman is 3 for 6, batting .500 with a 1.167 OPS versus Peters. He's 4,400 FanDuel salary, 600 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season, and he has a batting average of .315. So I like Freddie Freeman here versus Dylan Peters.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Now, if you're not going to play Dylan Cease, Anthony Rizzo looks to match up with him fairly well. Anthony Rizzo is batting a .813 OPS versus righties. Dylan Cease pitches his worst ball versus lefty batters, 22% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .688 OPS versus lefties. And Anthony Rizzo is 2 for 5 with a .900 OPS versus Cease. He's 3,800 FanDuel salary, 1,500 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .234. So there are some other plays that I prefer, but if you're not going to play Dylan Cease, I think he does match up pretty well versus him. So I like Anthony Rizzo here versus Dylan Cease. I also like Alec Bohm with an 18% batting advantage over Tyler Anderson. Alec Bohm batting 16% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .794 OPS versus lefties. Tyler Anderson looks like he pitches his worst ball versus righty batters, only by a little bit here, but he's given up a .674 OPS versus righties. And Alec Bohm is 3,100 FanDuel salary, only 400 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .311. So I like Alec Bohm here versus Tyler Anderson. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like Trea Turner with a 27% batting advantage over the low salary pitcher Dylan Peters. Trea Turner is batting 15% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .871 OPS versus lefties. Dylan Peters pitching 11% worse to righties as he does lefties, giving up a .511 OPS versus righties. Trea Turner is 2 for 6 with a .833 OPS versus Peters. He's 3,900 FanDuel salary, 1,500 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .259. So I like Trea Turner here versus Dylan Peters. Okay, now probably my favorite play on the slate is Jean Segura with a small batting advantage here over Tyler Anderson. Jean Segura, he is batting a little bit better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .816 OPS versus lefties. And Tyler Anderson throws his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .674 OPS versus righties. but I like this pick because Jean Segura is 6 for 11, batting a .545 batting average and a 1.181 OPS versus Anderson. So Jean Segura is only $3,300 FanDuel salary and only $600 more on DraftKings. So I like that price on both sites. He's averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season, and he's been on fire, scoring 18, 25, and 32 fantasy points in the last 3 games. Has a batting average of .299. So I think he's just underpriced on the slate here tonight. So I like Jean Segura here versus Tyler Anderson. I also like Chris Taylor with a 27% batting advantage over Dylan Peters. Chris Taylor batting 16% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .823 OPS versus lefties. Dylan Peters giving up a .511 OPS versus righties. Now, Chris Taylor is 0 for 4 versus Peters, but I like the splits here, and he's $3,200 FanDuel salary, $700 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .247. So I like Chris Taylor here versus Dylan Peters.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. Another one of my favorite plays on the slate is Hunter Dozier. And he's batting against the low salary pitcher, Taylor Hearn. So Hunter Dozier batting a .710 OPS versus lefties, and Taylor Hearn pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .860 OPS versus righties. Now Hunter Dozier is 0 for 1 versus Hearn, and he's only $2,900 FanDuel salary, $1,200 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .270. So I like Hunter Dozier here versus Taylor Hearn. Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. Looks like I've already given you my 2 shortstops with Trea Turner and Jean Segura. But now we're still waiting on the pitcher for the Kansas City Royals. So just keep an eye on that. You got a guy like Corey Seager. He's only $3,200 FanDuel salary, $1,600 more on DraftKings. And Marcus Semien, he's only $3,000 FanDuel salary and $800 more on DraftKings. So I'm recording this video a little bit early here this morning, so we don't have the pitcher in quite yet for the Kansas City Royals. But Corey Seager or Marcus Semien could be some pretty decent shortstop plays. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. Here's my home run hitter, my dong of the day. I like Mookie Betts with a 3% batting advantage over Dylan Peters. So I'm liking this stack versus Dylan Peters. Lots of guys, I just think they're in good spots here. So Mookie Betts, he's batting a .772 OPS versus lefties. Dylan Peters, we know, giving up a .511 OPS versus righties. And I like this pick because Mookie Betts is 2 for 5, batting .400 with a .933 OPS versus Peters. He's $4,500 FanDuel salary, $1,100 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .250. So I like Mookie Betts here versus Dylan Peters. I also like Nick Castellanos with a 15% batting advantage over Tyler Anderson. Nick Castellanos is batting 13% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.015 OPS versus lefties. Tyler Anderson pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .674 OPS versus righties. Now there's no at-bats versus Anderson yet, and Nick Castellanos is $3,600 FanDuel salary, 900, actually is that 900? Yeah, it's 800 more on DraftKings. He's averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season, and he has a batting average of 300. So I like Nick Castellanos here versus Tyler Anderson.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this MLB slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.